Good afternoon and welcome back to our early childhood conference. It's been a great day with great
Great
speakers, right?
information.
We are so happy how things are going, and we are ready to kick off the after lunch sessions. And with us right now, we're going to have two speakers from the Early Learning Coalition. Melanie Sanders is manager at Early Coalition of the Big Bend, and Anna Weismantel is early care and education specialist. So the Early Learning Coalition helps families find quality childcare and also offers customized provider lists, financial assistance, and referral to the community resources, and much more. So, all much more. That's why we are so happy to have the two guest speakers today. Thank you so much for your time and to share all the great resources with us. Take it away, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much for the warm introduction. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for having us. This is Melanie Sanders. I am the Early Care and Education Manager for the Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend region. There's a variety of different topics that we're going to go over today that is specific to children with special needs or possible developmental concerns. I will be speaking in regards to child assessment, and my co-speaker will be speaking in regards to our screening process. Just to get started, there's a couple agenda items. Again, I'm Melanie, and Anna, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Anna Weismantel. I'm an early care and education specialist at the Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend region.
And Anna, how long have you been with us?
18 years. Long time.
Very special lady on board.
Thank you.
I have been with the coalition for about 10 years now, in the early care and education manager role. I started off with child assessment, and child assessment ended up growing so big, I needed a little bit more help. So that's when I rolled into getting Anna and a couple other early learning specialists on board to help and assist with child assessment as well as developmental screenings. Some of the things that we will be going on over today, like I said, was child assessment, our process for developmental screenings, developmental screening concerns and what we do with them, our partners that are involved with us. We would not be able to do what we do without our partners. So we are excited to be able to highlight some of them today. Unfortunately, we won't be able to have the time to highlight all of them. In our Wormline services. So they mentioned in our introduction that the Early Learning Coalition is mainly known for our child care tuition assistance program. So basically for Big Bend, we serve 7 counties, and we have about 250 preschools and family child care homes that are enrolled with us. And when I say enrolled, that means in addition to having a license with Department of Children and Family Services, they also have a contract with us to serve those children that are eligible to be in our child care tuition assistance program. One of the things that we are required to do by law across the state for all 30 coalitions, so it's not just ELC of the Big Bend. There is actually 30, we're one of 30, and we are underneath the Division of Early Learning, which is underneath the Department of Education for the state of Florida. So one of the things that by law across the state we are required to do is developmental screenings. But we also have the option of doing a developmental assessment. So in the 7 counties we serve, which is Leon, Gadsden, Liberty, Jefferson, Wakulla, Madison, and Taylor counties, we also offer a observational based tool, which is called Teaching Strategies Gold. This is administered in the child care facilities. The teachers do observations on the children's development on a daily basis. And 3 times out of the year, they do what we call a checkpoint, where they go in and they look at certain developmental areas. Those developmental areas include social emotional development, physical, language, cognitive, literacy, and mathematics. In those 3 times out of the year, they look for if there's any developmental concerns in those particular areas. And what supports their developmental concerns is the observations that they make while they're watching the kids learn and teaching them in the classroom. In a variety of different ways, they meet with parents to go over the different concerns that they might be seeing with children that have that are typically developing, or again, the ones that might have some concerns that need to be addressed a little bit further. So basically, those parent-teacher conferences is normally what is held is to talk to the parents about different partnerships and other agencies that might be able to help with increasing those concerns. And that's where the Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend comes in. So we have a total of 6 specialists on my team that will respond to any kind of concerns that a child has when we do these assessments. Now, there is a difference between an assessment and there is a difference between a screening. So an assessment is something that goes year long. It is offered, again, through observations. It can be offered through a variety of different ways, but the state of Florida has chosen observational-based tools for us to monitor those areas of development. And then there is screening, which we do upon enrollment, and then we do annually as long as the kids stay in our services. Anna will be elaborating a little bit more on that. But just to give you a little statistics, the ELC of the Big Bend has used the tool for 10 years supporting preschools and family child care homes with identified ongoing developmental growth and concerns. So this tool can be used from being in an infant classroom, and we go all the way up until until they're 4 years old or going into kindergarten. So we could literally monitor the child's development, again, through infancy all the way up until them being 4 or 5. The tool helps teachers to communicate with parents what they are working on and why, according to the assessment's results. So in fall and spring of this year, we almost assessed 450 children. 48 teachers became reliable in the tool. What does that mean? This is not a tool that we just administer to teachers and say, go out and administer it on the children. This is a tool where they have to go through a certain amount of training, as well as take a test to prove that they understand the developmental standards for the state of Florida to be able to administer this tool on the children in their classroom. The assessment periods, like I mentioned, are 3 times out of the year, and it's observational based. The next thing that we're going to get into is our ASQs. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure we didn't have any questions or comments. I'm not seeing any right now. So Anna, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay.
Since you have such a big role in this.
Okay, yeah. All right. So first, let me talk about the screening tool we use. Is called Ages and Stages Questionnaire. There are 2 different tools. One is a developmental tool. The other one is a social emotional tool. For the developmental tool, it screens children starting at 1 month up to 66 months. And for the social emotional tool, the same, starting at 1 month up to 72 months. So it can tell us if there's any concerns. And as Melanie explained, the difference between an assessment and a screening tool is the screening tool is just a snapshot of that time. So it's really just looking at, hey, something could be going on. It doesn't diagnose anything that we need to look further. Okay, so that's what a screening tool is. And the tool we use, Ages and Stages Questionnaire, is respected by all professionals. So we've been using it for the whole time since I've been at the coalition. It's been around. And we offer, when Melanie was saying that we're screening the children yearly, we're required to do that. And when we send out screening results to parents, we also send out developmental activities that they can do to support their children, even if they're typically developing. So if we find that there is a concern, the tool has different phases. It has a below cutoff point. It has a cautionary, meaning they need more support in order to be successful. And then it has the one that is within normal limits. And that's how the scores go. So it puts the children in a range to where we know where we need to support them. Okay. Let's see. So the things that the developmental tool is looking at, that one is called the Ages and Stages Questionnaire 3. That one is looking at communication, gross motor, fine motor skills, problem solving, and social emotional. And then we have the social and emotional tool that is really focusing on that. It takes a big dip into seeing where the child is with their social emotional development. And so it's a very important tool that's been added on. That one is not required by us by law to collect, but we do it as a supplemental screening. And it has been very helpful, especially during the pandemic, when there was a lot of kids, because of the lockdown, that were really suffering from just isolation and not being socialized. And so that tool has been really helpful in helping us know which kids are going to need extra support as we come back into everybody being together again.
Yeah. And Anna, let me just jump in here real
Sure.
quick. It's really important about the social emotional tool because it was not one of the ones that has been required for us for years, but now across the state, it is optional for our families to complete when they come into enrollment. And again, when they continue yearly. So social emotional development has been a big focus for the Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend for the last, I would say 2 to 3 years with the pandemic, like Anna said. So we really, even though we're not required for best practices, we really do focus on those ages and stages, social emotional developmental screenings as well.
Yeah, it has been great. And parents have really taken advantage of that. Every time we get an ASQ3, which is developmental, we usually get the partner tool with it for social emotional. So it gives us a bigger picture of what's going on with that child. One thing I want to say about the screening tools is anybody can fill them out. They're really easy to use. Anybody who spends at least 20 hours a week with the child. So we have a lot of families that have the children, the grandparents raising the children or have gotten temporary custody. Guardians, anybody, and teachers can fill it out. So it's really great. We'll get into later about warm line services, but I do the warm line services for the coalition. And I always ask that the teacher and the parent fill out a screening just to compare the two environments to see if anything really sticks out to me across the board in both environments. So it has been great, dealing with that and having everybody being able to fill that out. There's no special training for it. To the best of my knowledge, it's written in the 6th grade level reading. So like everybody can fill out this screening for their child.
Yes. And to access the screening, like Anna was saying, for everybody, you can go to our website, which I've put in the chat. It's www.elcbigbend.org.
Yes. Yeah. And I would encourage you to do so. We offer that service to everybody. You don't have to be a contracted provider. You don't have to be a parent receiving services from us. You can go on there and fill out a screening for your child, and we'll provide you the results. Okay. All right. Let's see. I guess we'll get into warm line now, Melanie. Did you have anything else to add about screening?
Let me unmute myself. So just as, an understanding, we serve about 4,000 to 5,000 children in our coalition alone. In July 1st through July 1st, 2022 to May 2nd, 2022, we had already collected 2,800 screenings. And that was just for the ages and stages, not ages and stages social emotional. So as you can see, there's a lot of work on behind the scenes that goes into monitoring these developmental screenings that we receive. The team that I have, basically what happens is when we receive the screening, we review it. Parents are notified immediately of what the developmental concerns are. or if everything is typical. And then if there are any developmental concerns, then we refer the child sometimes to our partners with Anna will get into you with, or our specialists will go out into the field and actually work hand in hand with the teachers in the classroom. Majority of the time, the screenings are received by parents, which is great because this is a parent tool. In all actuality, it's fine that we have teachers that complete it, but it was designed for parents to complete. But we do, if they have concerns, get a second screening. So we'll start with the parent and then we'll go in and we'll get a second screening from the teacher. This gives us a little bit of an overview of both environments and what parent and teachers are seeing. So we can know if they are seeing the same thing or if there's a behavior that's particularly going on at home that we need to focus on versus at school or vice versa. There's a variety of different tools that we use when we go out as far as educational materials that are designed to those specific needs. All of our specialists are also certified coaches through University of Florida. So they know how to work with the teacher in that particular area and how to individualize for that child when they've got a full classroom to also focus on. And the specialists will go out and do these observations and work with the teachers on a regular basis until we feel like it's time for the child to be rescreened. And if at that time of rescreening, then basically what will happen is we will determine if we are going to refer out to other partners for a more in-depth screening and assessment to determine if therapeutic services need to be put into place for the child. As far as the families go, Anna works very close with a majority of our families. She does a lot of Zoom calls. We do not go into the home at the Early Learning Coalition, but we do a lot of virtual calls where we observe the child in their environment. She's definitely going to get into that. But I just wanted to expand a little bit more. We also have a team that works specifically on creating action plans for those children that have concerns. So if we get an ASQ screening, not only are we notifying the parent and going out into the classroom, but an action plan is created that we follow to help us stay on top of what we are doing with the family and the teacher. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit more about the partners that we use before we get into Wormline?
Sure. We are referring children out to Child Find, which is an acronym for Leon County Schools for us in our area. And we're also using Early Steps, which I know was part of this conference, and referring kids out to that. And then the private agencies, we have some private resources. We use the Pediatric Behavioral Health Center for Leon County. They serve Leon County children only. But a lot of the private resources would need to be filed through insurance. So I usually will write a recommendation for a parent along with screening scores as proof for them to take to their pediatrician and provide them with a referral form to that private entity so that the doctor can make the referral and it can be covered by insurance. But their free resources would be through Early Steps and Leon County Schools in our area, so Child Find or Fiddlers.
Yeah, and we also have, and I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on this, is Behavioral Health Services and FSU Autism Institute.
We do. We have the Autism Institute. They will do their assessment. They do it for children up to 5 years old. After that, and that's free, but after that, they will charge it to your insurance. Yes, we do have the Autism Institute. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Community Screening Day. So this is not necessarily something that is done completely across the state, but we do offer a community screening day, which used to be 2 times out of the year, but it has grown so much we are now at 3 times out of the year. And this is when, and Anna, if I miss anything, please jump in. But
Okay.
families that feel like there is a concern with their child can register for this community screening day, and it is a one-stop shop for them. We do ages and stages screening, both a regular and social emotional. We do hearing and vision, which we also do in the office. Um, and then other partnering agencies come in, like Early Step Fiddlers. We do height and weight. They do another assessment on them that goes a little bit more in depth into developments. And then what else is done there, Anna?
Well, we have some of the retired pediatricians that come in. If we have a positive for hearing screening, for instance, they'll come and check the children out, look in their ears, and give the parents advice of what they should do, if they should go to the doctor or not, or they think they have an ear infection or it's earwax built up or fluid in the ears. So we do have the doctors there that usually there's one doctor or two that will volunteer and come. We've got FSU is there. We have all the agencies come together on that community screening day to provide this for families, and it's free of charge to the families. There's no charge. What just happened? Oh, sorry, my screen went black for a minute. I thought we got disconnected.
You're good.
Okay. So basically, it's a great day. It takes about a couple of hours to go through the whole thing. We even have dental there, a dentist that does an oral screening and will give the family recommendations for that child going forward. If they do show with a concern, there are therapists there to meet with the family and talk about a plan, talk about services. So the community screening days are really great.
Yeah, and it does take a couple hours. It is lengthy, but
Mhm.
you're seeing all the right people in one place. And what happens is after they receive a family facilitator that walks them through the whole process. So they're never alone jumping from room to room. They
Right.
have a specialist that is with them that knows exactly where they need to go and exactly what they need to do. And then at the end, there is a resource room that they go into. And if there are any concerns at all, that child leaves that day with an appointment for services, if not services in place. So that's why we call it our screening day one-stop shop. I think the last time that we had one was in April, and we served almost 60 families that come from not only just our big county, which is Leon, but now it's starting to spread into the outer counties. And those families are traveling in. And it's come to the point now that those outer counties are realizing what great opportunity this is for children in the community. So they are actually mimicking what is going on in Leon County. So those families don't have to travel so far for services. So it has turned out to be a great opportunity. Hearing and vision, I just want to elaborate on that a little bit more. A lot of the times when we get a screening in that shows that a child might have some communication problems, we jump right into a hearing screening. And we have found a lot of the times that the reason that a child is having those communication or even social emotional problems is because there's something wrong with the hearing. And it's really important because if we're finding concerns in social emotional and we're also finding concerns in communication, then it's very hard for the other areas of development to increase. So we start to see delays come in other areas as well because a child does not know how to regulate their behavior or to communicate the way that they need to. So once we get a hearing back or a vision back where there is a concern, like Anna said, there is a referral that she will use to go to that child's pediatrician, so they can get more referrals out to get a true hearing and vision test done. or vice versa, to make sure that they get what the services that they need.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The machine we use, the screener we use, it plays 5 different tones, and it's measuring how the eardrum responds to the tones. So if there is fluid behind the eardrum, maybe from chronic ear infections or sinus problems, it will give a refer as a recommendation, because the eardrum can't bend to the tones. So that's why. And it's equivalent to if you've ever been in a swimming pool with your head under the water. You can hear the people above you talking, but you really can't make out what they're saying. That's how the child hears. So they won't be able to articulate like they should as they're learning to talk. So if you ever have a child that has problems articulating, then getting the hearing tested is really, really important. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so far, just to recap, we've talked about child assessments and how that is something that's observational based and is done throughout the year. We've talked about ages and stages screening, which is a one snapshot in time that goes through and looks at those particular developments that Anna was talking about. And then we have the ages and stages social emotional, as well as hearing and vision. One of the things that we've also mentioned is that these are services that are involved with families that are coming into our services at the Early Learning Coalition. But what we really want to talk to you about is also what we call Warm Line. And Warm Line is Anna's specialty.
Yes.
So it is her night and day, and it is everything that she does to make sure that families that are not only in our services, but families that are not in our services also get what they need when they have a family that is concerned. So Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you. So you
Okay.
go ahead. I think we've got about 10 minutes left before we take questions.
Okay. Sure. So the Warm Line Services is a free services to the community. You don't even have, your child doesn't even have to be attending a school. They can be home with you. If you have a developmental concern, you can fill out our Warm Line request form, which is the permission form. It comes to me, and you have a year after that's filled out. It's good. You don't have to do it again. So if I need to revisit what's going on with your child 6 months after we do it the first time, we can. And I have done that with families before. But basically, it's looking for developmental concerns. So we'll be using the same screening tools, the ASQ3 and the ASQ-SE, which is the social emotional tool. We'll be doing hearing and vision. And I also do an observation. And as Melanie mentioned, during the pandemic, when we couldn't really meet with families in the office, which was our routine prior to the pandemic, I started FaceTiming mommies and Zooming moms, and now that's part of the procedure. I do that. I love it. I can get in, see them in the home environment because, insurance does not cover me to go into someone's home. So I have to do it virtually, which is fine. Sometimes I can see more virtually than I would in person what really happens with the child, especially when we're dealing with behavior concerns. I can go to the school and observe the child as well to see what they're doing in the school environment. I'll meet with the teacher. And so when I get all of that together, then I can decide better what my recommendation going forward would be for that child. Let me just back up and say too, that there is no one at the coalition that works there that is licensed to diagnose anything. None of the tools that we use diagnose anything. We're basically giving a recommendation based on the screening results and referring you out to get that diagnosis that you're seeking. A lot of families come saying something's wrong. I've been telling the doctor for a year and he keeps putting me off, telling me, let's wait and see. And I need to figure out what's going on, Miss Anna. And they come when they're frustrated and they don't know what to do. Sometimes we have children that come into Warm Line that have been kicked out from school to school for behavior concerns. And that's why I was saying that social emotional tool comes in really handy because it gives me a snapshot and a view of what's really happening with that child. And I will get one from the parent and the teacher and compare the two. So I kind of know if there's anything happening across the board in both environments. Warm Line we do a little bit more than that. Other than the health screening, I can also come up with a plan to help teachers deal with difficult behaviors, or a plan for them to help them set up some type of IEP in the classroom for the child. So an individual learning plan, so the child can make progress moving forward. Let's see, am I leaving anything out, Mel? I don't think so.
Again, our referral is on our website at www.elcbigbend.org. All on the same page, you can access the ages and stages screening, the ages and stages social emotional screening, more information about Wormline, as well as more about the referral. One of the things that's really important is, though the referral is initiated through the preschool, it has to be signed by the parent. So this has to be a partnership that the parent has, not only with the Early Learning Coalition, but also with the preschool. And then if we have, at time to time, we do have some families, like Anna said, that might have been dismissed from school for behavioral problems, or for whatever reason, then a family can go on our website and do that referral as well and send it to us. So even though 9 times out of 10 it is initiated through the preschool, we do open it up to just families that might not have their child in preschool, but do recognize that they have some concerns. Yes. The other thing is, in addition to Wormline, is a variety of different statewide partnerships that we have. And Anna's done a little bit of research on that, so I'm going to let her share those with you. But they are also resources that we use in-house to be able to help those children, again, that have concerns.
So the big one I wanted to share with everyone is Step Up for Students. I can put that in the chat. It has a website where you can apply for their services, but basically you have to fall under something that is a diagnosis in order to receive their services. So if your child falls under having a diagnosis, for instance, it could be that they're on the spectrum, it could be that they're dyslexic, it could be that they have ADHD. They have a broad spectrum of things, of diagnosis that will work. And what they do is they give you $10,000 a year for your child for tuition, adaptive equipment, therapy services, until your child is 22 or your child graduates from high school, whatever happens first. Once you have that scholarship, you can continue to get it. And they also will give you monies for the siblings. So if you want to change schools for your child, you want them in a private school that could better serve your child if they have special needs, you can get that scholarship, and also for the siblings. So it's a great resource if you can get it. And the only thing that you can't do is take part in public school in the state of Florida. That would be including VPK if you have that scholarship, because that's the monies that the state would give you to educate your child. They're giving you in a scholarship to use for your child's needs, to make it specialized for your child. So going to the public school or VPK would be like double dipping in those monies. So they won't allow you to do that. But if you do get it, it's a great resource. And it's www.stepupforstudents.org. So it's really easy. You go on and you apply online. And sometimes I have a waiting list. You might be qualified, and then they might make you wait to the next school year to where funds are released. It's usually in March. Okay, there's that one. And then I have teamspbs.com, which is a service for kids that have a diagnosis. And this would be through your insurance company. You would have to get your doctor to refer you. And this is just therapists that go with your child. For instance, if you have a child who has a really bad ADHD or is on the spectrum and needs the support of one-on-one care in their school, you can get this money released through the insurance company to help fund that. And you can have someone who stays with your child at school for the day. Sometimes it's part of the day, but for their times of the days that they really need extra support. So those are the two statewide resources that I found. We do have some local resources for our area, for Big Bend and for Leon County, specific to Leon County. I mentioned the Pediatric Behavioral Health Center. They serve children in Leon County. If you don't live in Leon County, say you're a Gadsden resident, but you have a doctor in Leon County, you can take part in their services. You can get a referral. So I would love to offer my email address in chat so that, Mel, do you want to put it in for me?
Sure.
Thank you so much. So that way anybody can reach out that's listening to me, and I will be glad to help you one-on-one to make sure that I can either give you the resources or point you in the right direction. Okay. So it'd be specific to you and your child's situation. Okay. What else are we going to talk about? Do we want to address some of their questions at this time?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I only see one.
Just going to share something in the chat.
Right.
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't see anything.
Kathy, did y'all have something for us before we start into questions?
No, go ahead and answer the question, Melanie.
Thank you. So Amber asks, I do have a question. So every preschool in the state offers these assessments and screeners, or is that dependent on the agency/preschool partnership? So it is dependent on the agency/preschool partnership. That's a really good question. So like I said, there are 30 early learning coalitions across the state of Florida. If a preschool is contracted with that coalition, they are required by law to do the screenings. They are not required by law to do the assessments. We do encourage them to do the assessments. If they do it and they prove that their teachers are reliable, then what will happen is when they administer that assessment tool, we will give them a little bit more of additional funding to support those kids that they are working with. But as far as the screening tool, that is something that every child that receives services through the Early Learning Coalition is required to have between that age range that we mentioned. Amber, that was a really good question, and I'm glad I could clarify that from you. And I think that's the only question that I have, but I want to give it just a couple more seconds to see if anybody else wants to drop more questions in the chat. I don't want to take up too much time, but I definitely want to make sure that we have clarified everything for you based off of what we've presented on. Okay.
That was really great information. Thank you so much, Anna and Melanie. That was amazing. All the resources and information. We have put everything in the chat. We also shared your contact information, Anna, and everybody. You can find everything in here. I cannot thank you enough, right, Kathy? It was amazing.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, this
so
is great.
This is going to wrap up this session. Thank you for tuning in, and we are coming back soon with a couple more sessions before we end up the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.